Think back. Think back to before the monitor industry started booming with new technologies releasing every 5 minutes. Think back before 1440p 144Hz monitors became the all-seeing eye of Sauron. Think back to when all the enthusiasts had 1080p 144Hz monitors and no one ever really batted an eye or even cared about higher resolution options. The good thing about the new monitor technologies was that it brought together the uncompromising image quality of IPS technology with that buttery smooth snappiness of a high refresh rate, something which was lacking on lower and common resolutions like 1080p. That is, until now. This is a Samsung C24FG70, and it only cost me £160. Greetings everyone, my name is Dom and today we'll be taking a close look at the Samsung C24FG70. Don't let that hideous name fool you, there is a big reason to be excited about this monitor and it's not just for the price. 1080p 144Hz was the go-to for any PC gamer with somewhat decent specs. You never had to be a CSGO professional to want to take advantage of a 144Hz refresh rate. There was a new niche in town that was here to stay. This was the enthusiast gamer. Don't get me wrong, enthusiasts have been around for decades in the name of PC gaming. These guys would have already told you that you can have a 144Hz monitor without being a competitive gamer, even back in 2009. The thing that's changed now is that parts are incredibly cheap. I built a new £600 gaming PC, which will come in another video, and that is very capable of rendering detailed gaming environments in games such as Battlefield 1, Assassin's Creed Origins and Wolfenstein the New Colossus at those gorgeous high frame rates. This is something we've only really grown accustomed to in the past few years. So, what makes this monitor so special? Well, when I was searching through the Amazon deals, I came across this monitor, the Samsung C24FG70. For just £160, it offered a lot of value and was actually the cheapest 144Hz monitor going. After the deal ended, you can actually still buy this for £200 to £260, depending where you get it from. Still a very competitive price indeed, if you take a look at what this baby can do. On the outside, this monitor seems like any other 1080p gaming monitor. It has a 1 millisecond grey to grey response time, a resolution of 1920 by 1080, and, if you'll pardon the obvious, dons a gorgeous 144Hz refresh rate. You'll notice it has a curve, but this isn't really the reason why this monitor is such a big deal. No. The treasure is in the technology used in the panel. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a quantum dot display. Oh, you're not impressed? Well, I can understand why. I mean, yes, quantum dot technology looks really nice and has really nice black levels, but what it doesn't have is a solution for the horrific ghosting that has plagued all the monitors touched by its crystalline fingers. Well, actually you're wrong there. This monitor is completely devoid of any noticeable ghosting, even when scrolling on a white page with lots of black text. This is thanks to the 1 millisecond response time. In the past we have seen this at 8 milliseconds or even higher, so this is certainly a welcome change and a huge step in the right direction for quantum dot VA technology. As I said before, the concept of mixing great colour reproduction with a responsive and fast panel has been missing for 1080p when I had no idea why. 1080p is the most common resolution. For new builders it is the easiest option to run without sacrificing too much on visual quality. So there's definitely a market out there and this monitor is here to fill that gap. It's brilliant, I love it. For those who enjoy watching movies and playing games with a deep, vibrant array of colours, or for those who edit photo and videos as well as playing games, then this is who this monitor is marketed at. In 2015, the Acer XP270HU was released for £550. That gut-wrenching price tag brought something unheard of in the monitor world, an IPS display with a 144Hz refresh rate and a very low grey to grey response time, for IPS anyway, of 4 milliseconds. To bundle on top of that, it also came with G-Sync, a technology making its breakthrough for its second line of monitors. This monitor married visual quality and resolution and colours with performance in its high refresh rate. I bought this monitor back in the first week of its release and it really didn't disappoint. Back then I was using a GTX 980 Ti, which would be the equivalent of a GTX 1070, to power that resolution at 144Hz, and it didn't do a terribly bad job at it. Despite that, it was not able to hit that top 144 FPS in all games, so it didn't take full advantage of it. That job can currently only be done by the GTX 1080 Ti, but in this day and age, hardware is now powerful enough to run 1080p at 144Hz in almost all games at a very reasonable price. Again, if you want to see my PC build video, then I'll link it in the description. But that's enough talk of the past and how this monitor is a godsend for people like myself. Let's get onto the actual review. On a quality assurance standpoint, this monitor passes with flying colours. My Samsung ultra-wide had a few dead pixels, but it seems with this new line of monitors they've certainly stepped up their game. There were no dead pixels, there was no backlight bleed, there was no colour shift, on the left or the right sides of the screen, and the only thing I can actually point out about this display is this sort of inner drop shadow effect on the extremities of the screen. It's incredibly subtle and you can't notice it while gaming, watching a movie, or anything really. It's so subtle that it's like trying to decide whether it's just a problem with your eyes or a problem with the monitor. I can't catch it on camera and it appears most noticeable when looking at the monitor side on with a white background. This is the most impressive example of a pixel perfect display I have actually seen, so props to Samsung. It does sport that VA quantum dot display, as I said earlier, so you can expect that full 125% Adobe sRGB color spectrum. Samsung pre-calibrate their monitors in the factory, so everything looks fantastic. Color grading is made easy, films enjoyable, and games that bit more immersive. If someone was to say quantum dot was a gimmick, I really do urge you to try out various technologies in a professional or even consumer scenario, and you'll have the exact same opinions as me. A problem on a lot of budget monitors is color banding, and although this is only an 8-bit panel without dithering, the 256 shades of various colors blend very well and is therefore not that noticeable. I expect this is a similar story on a lot of 8-bit monitors though, it's just not as bland. If you would like to know what color banding is, you can look at the description for a great article on it. This monitor, for some reason, has a curve to it. Not the kind of curve little peep gets a stiffy over, the kind that doesn't serve a use for a monitor as small as this one. Samsung, listen. Adding a curve to a 16:9 display, unless it's like a 65-inch and it's made for wall mounting, is the most pointless thing ever. The only actual use for it is in an ultra-wide monitor. It's a much more comfortable viewing experience if something that wide wraps around you instead of trying to fucking escape from you. This is 24 inches. The curve serves only as a simple marketing technique to entice you to buy more over another one. That being said, it doesn't really detract from the experience at all because the curve is so subtle. At most, it may help it retain its value for a couple years after if you wanted to sell it later on, so I guess all in all it's a good thing. One thing commonly missed out by a lot of reviewers is overclocking. For those that didn't know, you can actually overclock a monitor's refresh rate to raise it higher than the factory intended. The overclock itself depends on the monitor and the hardware inside. Some companies don't allow it, some are built for it, this one is sort of in the middle. I managed to achieve a 149Hz overclock, raising it by only 4Hz. Nothing amazing, but I suppose it's better than nothing. 150Hz, although it's sometimes passed, brought a lot of artifacts with it like frame skipping. Slipping it down to 149Hz cleared up everything and it runs superbly. Let's talk about the stand. This thing is just too fucking big for this little monitor. Granted, the flat base means you can put your phone on it or your keys or whatever, but it takes up way too much room and anyone who's going to be opting for a 24-inch monitor likely won't have a large desk. I do, but only because I use ultra-wide monitors. My desk is 60cm in depth. If yours is, I'd say, 50cm, then you'll be okay, but any lower and it may feel a bit cramped. To the stand's merits, it is very versatile. You can rotate, you can swivel, and you can adjust the height, as well as use the integrated headphone stand. In any case, I would still definitely recommend you VESA mount this. A standard 75x75 VESA mount is included on the rear of the monitor and it's pretty easy to get to. Just remove a plastic panel and hey presto, you're able to screw your monitor arm into the back of it. As far as I know, unless I lost them, screws for VESA mounting aren't included, so you have to use the ones that come with a monitor arm or dive into your toolkit. The one I use is the Ergotech Freedom Arm if you wanted a solid recommendation. So what's gaming like on this beauty? Well, because we have that sweet quantum dot display, this monitor gives us a chance to really sample the fruits of PC gaming. The colours are especially prevalent in those red and green tones, so games that offer a striking colour palette will be a must play for anyone who owns this monitor. A prime example of this would be The Witcher 3, particularly the Blood and Wine expansion. I know I must talk about this game in almost every video out there, but I really do think everyone should at least try the game out. Another great one is Battlefield 1, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Skyrim with a few EMBs. If you're into films, then you can really see the advantages of Quantum Dot with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. The colour used in that film, especially in the intro, is phenomenal. Here's a few comparisons of Quantum Dot versus IPS side by side. Because it's only 1080p, you will be able to most likely take full advantage of that silky smooth 144Hz refresh rate. The monitor does come with FreeSync, so if you're on an AMD card like the RX 400 or 500 Vega or R9 300 series, then you may appreciate that feature. FreeSync is similar to VSync, but less shit, although it's more shit than G-Sync because G-Sync costs a lot of money, making FreeSync seem a bit less shit, if that makes any sense. There are a few other things I do like about this monitor. That snazzy mood light illuminating your desk, for example. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a static mode, but breathing is fine, and you can turn it off in the options menu if you don't like it. Which leads me on to another thing I like about this monitor. The menus are bloody brilliant, made even more bloody brilliant by the bloody brilliant joystick, situated behind the right hand side of the screen. Brilliant. In the menu, you can access the picture settings and audio settings, among a few other things. By default, your monitor should be set to that custom preset. If it's not, then change it to that. That is the preset that has been professionally pre-calibrated. You'll notice that there's also a game mode, FPS mode, and movie mode, but just ignore them. You'll get the best experience out of using that pre-calibrated mode, no matter what you do. Otherwise, it removes the point of having a quantum dot display. One thing neither good nor bad are the bezels. I'm undecided on them. They're not fat enough to constitute a fail or a negative in my book, but they're not skinny enough to constitute a success either. If you're going to be running multiple monitors, they're not bad, and then perhaps the curve will then make sense, but I would have still liked them to be skinnier. The thinner the bezels, the better. That's just the way it is. Also, if the frame of the monitor was metal and not this plastic, that would be nice. Although I suppose it does keep the cost down, and the plastic actually doesn't feel that low quality. Great job on not making it glossy plastic though, so you may keep your balls intact. So all in all, is this the best monitor at this price point we have seen? I can actually say yes, it probably is. If there was a G-Sync version of this monitor, then that would be perfect, but unfortunately FreeSync is all we're getting. If you're annoyed that the price has gone up, then I'd suggest waiting a bit. The Boxing Day sales have started in various stores, and will go on until the new year. Then come the January sales to get rid of all the stock, and then Valentine's sales, and so on and so forth. My point is, I have no doubt that the price will drop again, and you will soon find it in your basket ready to be purchased. Although, at around £250, let alone £160, it is an incredibly good deal. This packs in everything a gamer and content creator could ever want in a 1080p monitor, besides maybe G-Sync. It is great for games, great for movies, and certainly great for you. That is my verdict. But anyway guys, if you did enjoy this video, then do show your appreciation by tapping that like button. I love your face, and I will see you guys in the next one. Ta-ra.